Every single live stream, this guy's asking for money, man. He put his whole life savings into Hex, man, and now he's asking everybody for $5.
I know,
Yo,
this
that's
is.
funny, man.
Hey man, I'll pay you back in 2 weeks. Look, I 100x leveraged
Oh,
using Bitboy
shit.
Crypto's Bybit link, and I just it's $5. I'll pay you back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you know what, man? We got you got a sick fate today. I know you got your what? Did you get your barber into Hex or not yet, man?
That's actually yes, that's funny. I actually got my barber in a Hex. I've been talking about him. I've been talking to him about Hex for a while, and he's like, "If you
He
want to
gave
pay
in.
me in Hex moving forward, yeah, man." I got him the Staker app. He signed up, and he's like, "Yeah, next time like you come in, you can just pay me in Hex."
Yeah, you're just doing God's work, huh?
Nice. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. Man,
Well,
that's
man,
awesome.
look, thank you guys for joining in. We just want to start a live stream. We got a special guest today, Wales only. We're gonna talk about Hex, about the whole, ecosystem in general. Get to know you a bit. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, I see a bunch of Hex people waiting already. So, if you guys have any questions, let us know. And yeah, man.
Yeah, 100%. So, guys, we appreciate if you like and subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. And man, look, just to start off, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. Like how'd you get into crypto, and what'd you do before crypto?
Well, interestingly enough, I've been around crypto since the early days. I actually found out about it in 2009, but wasn't actually able to buy anything until 2010. And I was not smart enough to understand what was going on. I was actually in the military in my younger days. I'm an older gentleman nowadays, and I just didn't think it was gonna be around. So I sold like everybody else did after a certain period of time, and it was clearly a dumb move. And we all learn from our mistakes, right?
100%. Right.
So it's just been when I find, I left. So I got into crypto back. I've been around since back then. So it's
Mhm.
been a battle of back and forth trying to understand, and it's been an evolutionary process for myself because I've been trading. I've been on Wall Street this whole time since like 2010. I've been on Wall Street, and I just been trying to learn, learn, and nobody really there to teach you anything like that. You got to figure it out as you go along.
It's true.
Yeah, you got to figure it out,
Especially with
and
crypto, man.
yeah, especially with crypto because you got to like when crypto first came out, it didn't make sense in terms of like the big picture, right? Because it was just like, what's this? It kind of just
That's
came out
true.
of nowhere. Um,
Yeah,
and that was kind of the big thing. Like, what is this thing? And it's it looks almost like a scam because people don't understand what it
It
is.
always did for a while.
Right,
for a long time, for years.
right.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. It's like people don't understand what it is. Right? People don't realize it's just supposed to be math and code. It's just another form or representation of value. Right? It's supposed to be a decentralized form of a representation of value, meaning no intermediaries, no middlemen, no Visa, no Mastercard, no fiduciaries, no none of that. You are your own fiduciary. You are your own entity that does the work that you need done for you. And that's the thing, right? When you go to a bank and you're trying to get a loan, there's always a something. There's always a but,
That's true.
right? There's always a reason they can say no instead of yes, right? I mean, why is that? Why can't you just get the money you need when you need it if you're going to be able to pay it back for whatever reason? And if not, you re-up, whatever the case is, right? And of course, if you're not going to be a good credit risk, well, the bank is more than, well in their right to make a risk assessment the appropriate way. But in a lot of cases, right, the off the bat is just no.
That's true.
right. Yeah. Yeah, man. And look, we can delve into a bunch of stuff here. That's actually very interesting. I didn't know you got in that early. So you're like an OG on multiple fronts here. That's great. But look, man, I wanted to ask you a question that I really haven't heard asked, and please feel free to skip over the question if you don't want to talk about it. But what was your MOS in the military? What was your trade?
Oh, I was just a generator mechanic, actually.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah, yeah. How long
Yeah.
were you in for?
I was in for active 4.5. Interestingly enough, I spent like 75% of that time overseas
Oh,
because it
okay.
was it was during that time when Iraq first started. So everybody was just getting rotated in and out of the desert all the time. So by the time I got out, what I ended up doing was joining the National Guard so I could use the
Mhm.
system so that I wouldn't get redeployed again, because they were even taking people that were getting out and sending them back out again. So they weren't playing games at that time. So I had to figure it out. And luckily I did. But I still ended up going back overseas anyway as a civilian, which is fine because I was making a ton of money. So it worked out in my favor at the time.
Okay, yeah.
So no love lost. But I got to learn a lot more of the system. And by the system, I mean the world and how it works. Right.
True.
And it's a big picture, man. And there's so many layers and there's so many things that we think we know, but we don't. And that's
We're not
it.
supposed to.
Yeah, because we're not supposed to. That's right.
And that's what's interesting, man. Because to be honest, like we watch, and I guess every time we watch like your live stream or some of the videos, whenever you're talking, you always talk about the system, right?
Mhm.
You always talk about the financial system. We saw you've been doing a lot of live stream lately too, man. Right before this, you're talking about inflation, about what's happening so far in the financial markets and what we're
Right.
about to experience sometime soon here. So what are you thinking, man? What's the big thing right now? And how's crypto? I guess how are you using crypto to go around that and to benefit from it? I guess.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing, right? Like that was the thing that a lot of people like they really didn't understand back then, and they still don't understand now.
It's
Is
true.
how crypto fits this big picture, because it's a big picture situation, right? Like you got to sit here and realize what is actually going on a day-to-day basis. Like let's think back to when we were kids, because we're all probably around the same age. I'm only in my late 30s. I'm not that old, but I
Brendan's
remember.
14 still.
I'm
Oh,
17 and a half, thank you.
there you go. There you go. So do you guys remember how $20 would go a little bit further than it does today?
Oh yeah, man. Of
Yeah.
course.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's that simple, right? Like it's not harder than that. I don't think it's harder than that. I think it's that simple,
That's true.
right? It's
That's true.
like, well, what happened? Why is this money worth less?
Right.
Is it
Yeah.
is it just for fun?
Oh,
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying?
Definitely, man. Definitely.
So can I ask you something? So how was it that you found Hex then? So you've been in crypto for a while.
Mhm.
I'm sure you did the thing, you buy the top, sell the low, but when was it that you found Hex, and what was it about Hex that attracted you?
Well, interestingly enough, I was just trying to learn about the domain name system. And I was just browsing YouTube trying to find videos of just learn about the domain name system, how it operates, et cetera, et cetera. And randomly hex.com popped up because it's a good domain name. It's an optimal domain name. So it's good for branding, et cetera, easy to remember, and all of these positive aspects that the name has. And whatever. I had remembered Richard Hart from earlier in my crypto time because I had left the space after 20. Like once I saw CNBC showing people how to buy XRP, like I sold whatever I had, and that was it.
Right.
Because I understood that that was supremely, out of bounds, and I even thought that the space wasn't going to be around in the future at that
Mm.
point. So I left it alone, and then I found this video, and then found myself back at looking at this thing that this guy did that I remembered from back in the day, that I started watching the video and I kind of understood what he was saying. So I started checking it out, and I mean within 30 minutes I was already buying Hex because I understood. I just didn't grasp
Just
like
fell in
what.
love, I guess.
Yeah, for love at first sight, man.
It's
Yeah.
true.
That's awesome, man. Yo, look, I wish I had your journey, because I don't know how many people know this, but I actually knew about Hex. It's very embarrassing to say, but for a year, maybe over. And it
Oh,
wasn't until August that I started looking into it, started charting it, started talking about it, started tweeting about it. And that's about the time when I started started getting in. So man, I regret I regret not looking more into it a year ago when I first heard about it. And look, not to hover on myself for too long, but I think this is an interesting point that could that might be worth talking about here, which is, it was frankly due to what's sometimes called in the Hex community a furu that I didn't look into Hex further, man. It was a Token Metrics live stream. I don't know if you saw this, remember this. Richard Hart was on Token Metrics forever ago, roughly a year ago, and I remember Ian Bellina specifically saying, head of Token Metrics, think of Hex as a trade, not as an investment. And my God, that was the worst advice ever, because Hex went
Ever.
on to do, I don't know how many hundreds of X or thousands of X growth. So, look, man, that's one reason why I want to talk. I wanted to have you on, and why I'm so glad you're here, because, whether you think, whether you like Hex or not, whether you have a high risk tolerance or not, Hex is definitely something worth looking into, worth discussing, because the implications of being right or wrong about Hex are, I think, massive, in my opinion. I think, as you well could agree.
100%.
Yeah.
And thing is, man, like maybe if I think like it's granted, people kind of shy away when something is a bit more complicated, not even complicated. Let's say it's more complex. Specifically, I guess with Hex, it's a lot more of a complex system or tokenomics that you definitely need to put some time into. If we're looking at some, like Shiba, or if we're looking at some other coins that there's nothing behind. It's very easy for people to have some sort of opinion about it, but something that has a bit more complexity to it, you need to kind of study. That's why we see a lot of your live streams. We see a lot of the live streams in the Hex community in general, talking a lot about the charts, talking a lot about the numbers, trying to understand, what T-shares are, what how inflation works, where the interest comes from. And I guess it takes a bit of education to see a product for what it is, right? And that's why I guess we want to bring you on today as well. A lot of our audience doesn't really, I guess, is not really fully exposed to Hex for the most part. But I guess for the people that don't understand Hex, or someone that wants to get a bit of a simplified description of it, how would you describe Hex?
Sure. So it's like a reward system, right? Just like any other reward system, right? You got to put in to get out, right? And this is no different. And what we're doing here is that we're putting economic value into a pot, and that then gives us a claim to a certain piece of what that pot pays out on a daily basis, right? And that's all you're doing when you're buying Hex and you're staking it, because it's a staking coin,
Right.
right? And then the advantages of buying and staking Hex is that the longer time you give yourself, the more opportunity you give yourself in terms of price appreciation, because not only does it pay yield in crypto, but it also goes up in value. Like, it's not many staking coins that do both things well, and Hex is one of those coins.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, right on. Now look, we had a couple of so look, we said before the live stream here, me and Messin have been kind of debating and talking about Hex heavily. It's been one of our main subjects or focuses of debate for the last maybe 2 or 3 months here. So we've been going back and forth a lot, trying to do as much research and to delve into the details with Hex. So there was a couple questions we wanted to pick your brain on. Again, if you don't know the specifics, it's fine, but we figured it'd be worthwhile asking in case you might have some insight. So something I've been personally wanting to figure out for a long time here is, so Hex inflates at a rate of 3.69% a year, and that's calculated daily. But we're curious if you have any insight as towards what that 3.69% is considering. It's of all Hex ever minted, but what is considered all Hex ever minted? Does that include Hex that's staked, Hex that's been sent to the sacrifice address? Like, do you know what that 3.69% is of?
Yeah, so the 6.9% is literally what the system is designed to print on an annual basis. So what happens is that the system prints that inflation based on how much staking activity is actually going on in the system. So if you look at the percentage of stakers out of all of the coins in existence, that's going to be the staking percentage as a percentage of all the coins. And that's a number that's actually tracked in the system. And that number is actually, let me see, because I can tell you what it is right now. It's probably like 9.8% or something like that. And that typically means, because this is it's a system, right? So it's designed to do this. It's designed to meet these certain metrics.
Right.
So that's one thing that's unique here, right? Most other cryptos, which are really just promise coins, are not cryptocurrencies, because a cryptocurrency very simply means something that trades in a decentralized fashion, meaning no intermediaries, right? Everything else, whether it's a meme coin or not, trades on an exchange. So it clearly has to go through an intermediary in order for you to experience that coin. So it's not really a crypto. It's just a stock ticker, really. And people think they can debate that, but they cannot, because when you sit here and you look at the big picture as to where crypto came from, Well, it literally came from the bottom of the economic woes of 2008 because everything was in shambles.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's kind of crazy.
So maybe I
Yeah.
guess a follow-up question to that. So
Mhm.
that 3 point. So maybe if let's just summarize, I guess we can say Hex is more of a like every other coin has inflation,
Yeah,
annually, but for Hex specifically, we're having more of a delayed inflation, and that gets paid to the pool of stakers. And
correct.
from that pool of stakers, the variable we got is how long they've been staked for. So we got certain, I guess, bulges in terms of what's those end stakes come in, and whenever those end stakes come in, that's dictating. Let's say within a year we're supposed to have some sort of a specific inflation. That's what the code is designed for. We got 3.69 out of whatever total we got, and then just
Correct.
because it's being dumped on a the staking pool, now the variables, the people, the stakers, and now that's being delayed or to the front or lag to the back. In general, I guess, is there some sort of like a total not market cap, but total amount of shares for Hex, or total
Total
cap for
supply.
Hex, the total supply?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
actually got some charts I can show you guys so you guys can
let's do it,
see
man.
what's
We know you're
actually
all
Yes,
about
going
the
on.
please
charts, man.
share your screen
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So I already got it shared. Just go on ahead and pull it up.
No problem.
And the first chart you guys will see is the actual inflation printed by the system, which is defined by cumulative inflation here.
Right.
And then you have systemic inflation, which is, as you guys know, is defined as 3.69%, right?
Mhm.
And then you have what we consider deferred inflation, which is inflation that isn't actually being minted right now, but we can account for it, right? Because this is what the system isn't minting. It's literally just minting 1.73% because that's what we tabulated literally from both the minted coins that we're tracking as
Mhm.
well as the inflation that we're tracking. So we're tracking it both ways, right? Also, not just by doing the math, but by also tracking the summation of the inflation that the system is actually emitting,
Mhm.
right? So what we end up discovering is that not only are we not seeing the full inflation of the system being printed, we are in fact seeing that greater than 50% of the inflation in the system is being deferred to the future by a tune of 53%, almost 54.
Because of the stakers.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you're distinguishing realized inflation and unrealized inflation, basically.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And
Okay.
this is the secret sauce, so to speak, right? This is why the coin can just be lofty, right? Because everybody's taking this hex, making it disappear, and that number is 9.76% of the supply that's staked as a percentage of the total supply of coins. So as coins do come onto the market from being inflated or from them being minted, excuse me, via the inflation, that number does go into account. Like it takes it into account, right? So it's not like we're hiding anything. Like we have the most data in the market. Like if you
Right.
go to
Definitely.
hex.vision, you can literally see what's coming in the future as far as the end stakes or the stakes that are going to be ending here soon. And I'll take you guys to a nice little chart that'll show you like the next 15 weeks of staking activity, just to give you an idea of what the motion in the ocean is going to look like coming soon. Let's see here, 21. Let's go to November 1st, just for fun. Um, and let's go 15 weeks. Oh, give me a second. Oh, all right, hold on.
And we're currently going through the largest unstakes in history, I believe. Now,
Well,
while you,
yeah,
yeah,
actually, yeah.
while you're pulling that up, there's been this narrative in Hex where these large unstakes are rolling, where these whales just progressively keep staking out 2 months, 3 months, like just continually. Do you subscribe to that notion? Have you seen that historically, where there's always this massive cluster of unstakes 2 or 3 months ahead?
So what happens is that you do see a concentration of stakes at the front end of the curve,
Mm,
right? And I mean, it's not going to be shown here. I do have a chart that does show that, but I'd have to pull it up because I haven't done it in a while. So I
okay.
can show you an
Yeah.
old one just so you can see exactly what I mean.
Mm.
But let me see here. This
As in, like
is
you have
the
it tracked from before, and how there was always that, like I guess, cluster of
yeah,
unstake summon. I see.
yeah. Because it's not new, right? Like the system has always done that. And that's just it, right? Like you gotta look at what the system is doing. Um, the system, like, and this is my thing, right? Like my thing is a little unique for most people that do charts. Like I'm not really focused on price per se. Um, I'm focused on what affects price, right? And that's a little different
That's true.
because at the end of the day, understanding what the system is doing is what's defining what's actually out there in the market.
You gotta let the market speak to you first. You can't assume. You gotta get the system or the market to actually speak to us and present that data, so we can kind of
Right.
understand everything here. But so I guess what you're doing now is you're trying to see what's coming up in terms of the stakes. Just for the people that are watching, guys, you can
Correct.
go on hex.vision, get all these charts, all this data. If you have any questions or any kind of you want to interpret the system whatever way, it's highly modifiable, and you can filter for a bunch of things. But specifically, you can get a lot of that staking information, see what's coming up.
That's
But
right.
yeah, man. So what do you think about what's the impact of all these unstakes coming into the system? We know it's probably going to
Are we
increase the
crashing?
fee
Are we going
share.
to zero? Is the
Are we going to
Ponzi
zero,
bubble
man? What are we saying
popping?
here, man?
Well, look, I'll tell you what. If we were to go to zero, I would not be upset because I'd be buying like there's no tomorrow. Because it can't stay down there, right?
100%.
Because the funny thing is that if Hex does ever go to zero, the system doesn't stop working per se. That just means that somebody actually sold it down to that level, which is almost hard to do. It's almost impossible to do actually because there's so much liquidity sitting at all these price levels. When you look at a Uniswap distribution of price, you'll see that what's like if you look at the chart, number one, we've had the most selling ever over the past 60 days, right? Like we haven't had this much selling ever. Like
Hmm.
this is just, a lot
It
of
is.
red.
It is big. That's
Yeah,
true.
it's a lot of red. And when you sit here and you look back at what happened during Big Payday, which was the only other period in time where we've had this much red, I mean, it was just the month of November.
Could you
Hmm.
describe for those who don't know what was Big Payday?
Sure. So Big Payday was this one. It's okay. So when Hex first was released, it had a 1 year launch phase. And it had this thing called the adoption amplifier where there was a certain amount of Hex that was minted on a daily basis. And you put in whatever ETH you would put into the pot. So whatever the payout would be at the end of the day was proportional to the ETH that was put in. So if you put in a lot of ETH with respect to the size of the pot, you got a lot of the Hex for that day. If not, then you got a little bit. So it was just like you were getting a piece of the pie every time, and that was
Okay.
it.
So forgive the verbiage, but was that Hex's version of like a fundraising round?
No, because the thing about it is that the launch phase was a period in time and where you could allocate to receive Hex. It already existed. It was a final product, like it was complete already. It wasn't actually launched until it was done. So
Mm,
there wasn't any fundraising round. It was just a product that was completed, and if you wanted some, you can allocate capital to it, and that was pretty much it. You didn't have to, right? And
Maybe a
and
distribution phase would be a more
it was,
accurate.
yeah, that's why
Yeah.
they just call it a launch phase, right? Because
Right.
that's
yeah.
really all it was. And for a whole year, in fact, let me pull up V1 because it actually shows it better. Because you got two charts. Because when Hex came out, you had Uniswap V1, but Uniswap V1 then became Uniswap V2. So the chart changed, the liquidity changed, and all that information changed. Give me a second here. Let me get rid of these things for you. So this is V1, and this has all the price history for Hex. So this was launched, and as you guys can see, we got a nice little dip here, probably about 90% or so. I mean, it was
Mhm.
pretty severe on launch. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm probably not picking it up right, but it was like 70, 80%. It was
Right.
pretty drastic. Um, but long story short, you can see that over time, right, the price has always been positive, right? The price action has always been positive. So, um, you know, when you have an opportunity where people are deciding to exit a market, by choice, because the thing about HEX is that it doesn't trade on a centralized exchange by any means, right? It's people literally opting to sell and buy. That is it.
Right.
So when the sellers are finished, what happens? Only the
Anybody
buyers.
can pump the price, yeah.
Yeah, at a
only
certain point, sellers get exhausted, just like buyers get exhausted.
right.
Yeah. And yeah, man. And look, I wanted to kind of follow up. I don't want to leave this point because I think the implications of this are very interesting. I wanted to follow up on the inflation calculation thing because so if the inflation rate is forever calculating a number that's always increasing because it's based off the all HEX ever minted, but if the number of all HEX ever minted is constantly increasing, does that not mean that 3.69% is calculating an ever increasing number? And does that not mean that the total payout will increase over time? Am I correct in thinking that way?
So let's think about it. What is the system designed to do? It's literally designed to print 3.69% inflation based on the number of people staked in the system. And that chart, just to give you guys a better understanding, looks something like this, right? So long story short, if there's nobody staked, there's an opportunity to receive all the inflation in the system, which looks like 3.69, 369%, excuse me. So if you got 10% of the supply staked, right? However much the supply is, like that's just how it's designed to work, right? So even though the system is still ever printing HEX, that doesn't mean anything because ultimately the parameters have been set to where if the supply is, let's go to graphx.rocks just to see.
This guy got his charts up his sleeve, man, right
Hey,
away.
man,
Oh, I love it.
Just whipping it
I
out.
love it.
You gotta be ready, man. You gotta be
Yeah.
ready. So, all right, we got 461 circulating, and we got 62 billion staked, right? So 461 plus 50 or 40 is 500, right? And then you tack on another 20 plus 3, right? So that's 523 billion coins, right? Um, so that means that 62 divided by that sum of all these, because they're taking that into account also, right? All of that divided by that 62, 10%. That's all it is,
Right.
or 9.78% or whatever, 9.75 as of now.
So can we like predict, I guess, how much inflation in terms of total amount of HEX we will have, let's say for the year? Let's say if we're saying, hey, it's
For the year?
3.69. Yeah, for this year, what are we expecting them? How much HEX is expected to be?
Well, here's the
coming out?
interesting thing. There's no way to forecast human behavior, right? But what
Because
we
it's so variable, right?
yeah, but what we do know is that we do have an increasing set of stakers, right? Because the staker class keeps increasing, and now we're probably above 72,000. I haven't checked in a little while, and this chart's a little stale, about a week old. But we got to be at least near 72,000. And the thing is, the staking average for the system is at 5.83, 5.84. So it keeps increasing over time. Because when
That's
I got
years,
in,
right?
yeah, in years,
Okay.
5.83 years, 5.84 years. When I joined the system, I think it was maybe 5 years, maybe 4.9. Like it wasn't that high, right? So that means that people are understanding the significance of delaying gratification because it's simply a network in which if people understand what they own and they tuck it away for the future, you know, the value of that item is going to be forced to go up because there's just not much of it to go around. There's just not much of it. It's limited supply. It's literally supply demand, right? Like if you look at it here, look at what price did, and this was basically the OA staking all of the HEX that it could stake, right? This is what prompted this spike and then this down move, right? But then that was simply to protect the value of the system, right? And this was during big payday. This is simply to protect the value of the system from the short-term interest that just wanted to come in, get their bonus. Because what happened at the end of big payday is that all of the inflation that the system was emitting was put out. And that was about 30% of the coins. So if you were staked, you received a piece of that.
Right.
and that was the purpose of it.
I
And
see.
you're
So
saying that sorry, so
go
maybe
on, go
so
ahead, go ahead.
that translates to the I guess inflation in one way, shape, or form. How many people are staked in the system versus what the system is actually designed to, I guess, mint or print for that let's say specific time period. Then,
Right. So let me break it down a little bit further. So Hex works very simply, actually.
Mhm.
It does very limited amount of things. You can buy Hex, you can stake Hex, which then mints you T shares. Right. Once you mint T shares, now what happens is that you turn in your stakes for an accounting mechanism that gives you a representation on a daily basis of how many Hex are allotted to you based on your T share count.
I see.
That's it. And then at the end of your stake, right, which can be any time from 1 day to 5,555 days, that's up to you to determine. That is when you can mint your coins or then restake them.
Yeah,
So unless you actually take those coins at the end of the stake and leave them out of your wallet, the system isn't tabulating that as minted inflation.
I see.
But you have to end that stake because that's how the system reads it. So even if you ended that stake, right, you see that I'm still picking up. Hold on, let me get to the chart. You see, I'm still picking up deferred inflation. How can that be if we're only picking up minted inflation? Well, that's because we know what the system is supposed to be minting, right?
Right.
So we can account for it. We don't need to actually count it. We can account for it because the system is supposed to be doing that. And the price is letting us know that it's doing that because only
We have deferred
46,
inflation.
yeah, only 46% of the actual inflation that the system is supposed to be printing has been printed,
I see.
right? So
I
the
see what you mean.
system is, now you get it, right? It's like the system is, this is what the system is designed to do. This is what the system is actually doing. And this is how the price is reacting because of that.
So that's why I guess the question isn't, I guess the right question. We're saying, hey, how much are we gonna get inflation this year? Because at the end of the day, we don't know how much inflation because there's no hard cap on how much hex is gonna be minted. It all depends on what the stakers are gonna do, how many stakers are gonna be in the system, and how long they're gonna be staking for. Once we, and that's why we get deferred. We're supposed to get 3.69, but deferred inflation because people are pushing it till later days. We have 1.96 for the time being.
Right. And that
I
was
see.
the interesting thing, right? Because this chart isn't even, it's not even that old. Like I literally just made it probably a couple weeks ago. Um, and the exercise was to see how much inflation has actually been printed, right? Because a lot of us, we just hear 3.69. We didn't actually really know it was this little, and it's actually not a lot.
It's not.
Yeah, it's
That's
all
what me and
Not.
Brendan here,
deferred.
man.
Yeah.
We keep we keep going back and forth a lot,
Oh
but
man.
that explains some things for sure.
Yeah. So I got so many t-shirt questions. So one question I want to ask, do you have any intuitions as to it's so variable, we don't know for sure, but as to whether or not the payout per t-shirt will increase or decrease over time? Do you have a
hmm
stance on that?
Yeah. So let me explain how it works, right? So what's actually happening? Well, a T share is designed to do one thing, and that's tabulate how many, like the system, excuse me, not the T share, the system is designed to tabulate how many T shares are in the system. And then in accordance with that, assign how much of the hex is going to be paid out in accordance with how many shares are in the system, right? So it's very circular, right? They all lean on each other. You can't have one without the other, right? And it's very important to understand that,
Mhm.
because this is the thing about a system and understanding how it works, right? It's like a bridge. A bridge has its supports, it has its arms, it has its trusses, etc. This has to be the same thing. It has to be engineered to function correctly, right? So this is designed to pay people. Well, in order to get paid, you got to have a T-share. Well, what is that T-share doing exactly? Well, it's designed to print X percent inflation every day in accordance with X number, or Y number, which in this case is 3.69%.
Mhm.
Simple, right? So what the system then does is it takes whatever that number ends up being that day based on the number of people in the system, and then it just divides it, and then it yields that number, which you then get for every T share that you own.
Right.
So it really just depends on the amount of participants day to day, really.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's it's interesting because it looks like it's multivariate, right? We can't just grab one of these variables and just try to, I guess, forecast the system or try to understand the system. You got to take the whole picture, with its different variables, and that's which is gonna, I'm just gonna have a follow-up question to that. I'm hoping you'd have you can explain a bit more details on that. But overall, we got the T-shirt system, which is representing what, how the length of how many how much or how long and how much people staked hex for the specific day, and that's determining the daily payout. And it's also not forecasting, but it's also allowing us to know for the person coming in today, this is what you're supposed to be paying here for you to be a part of the system, or for you to kind of get paid that interest, or to come in and stake and determine what your future interest is going to look like. But I guess my main question is, let's just say now, if you wanted to kind of forecast, or kind of not predict, but I would say forecast how long does the t-shirt rate, so meaning that per t-shirt, how much hex we're actually getting paid. I'm assuming, from my point of view, based on what analysis me and Brendan were actually doing, the best way to forecast how high the t-shirt rate is going to go, let's say every year, and then in this case you just showed us the charts and all that. I'm assuming we can kind of forecast that using the deferred inflation, because at the end of the day, their t-shirt rate is being overall changed by the how much payout there is per day. So it's based on the t-shirts, and the payout was basically based on inflation. So it looks like inflation is what's driving this mechanism, and because we got stakers pushing this for a longer time, then we have deferred inflation. So does deferred inflation help us understand or forecast how high the t-shirt rate is going to go for this year, or annually, for example?
Yeah, no, I think the cost of a T-share, interestingly enough, because this system is unique in the sense that uh, it's linear but dynamic. Now, what that means is you can get on the train at any point and still end up winning, right? You just have to do your time,
Right.
because consequently, your economic mass is going to be relatively specific to the value of each respective hex you can acquire in order to acquire each T-share or each share, right? And that's the thing that's important for people to understand, because look, when I got into the system, it was day 330. It had already been around for almost a year. I found it right before big payday. And I was lucky enough to be able to figure out exactly what was going on right before the day. So I literally caught it by like 2 days, and figured out what was like the optimal strategy or whatever. So, long story short, let's talk about what this chart is saying. So this chart is saying that the payout per T-share really only changes upward. Right? Look at that. It really only changes upward. The downside is really limited in the sense that it really only goes down to like 5.7. That's it. And this is all post big payday. So this has been the natural evolution of the system since the launch phase was over and ended, right? So this is really a testament to what consistency looks like with a well-designed product, right? Which is what Hex is. I mean, Hex flips a lot of the notions that we have in terms of what is a good financial product, because imagine you can forecast that you're gonna at least make 5.84, 5.8 hex on a daily basis, which right now is worth 20 cents or 18 cents, right? At one point it was worth 50 cents, right? And over time, that value is gonna increase. Now, what you want to find out is, well, will the quantity of hex I get paid increase over time? And I got to be honest and say that the answer is yes, because what happens is the following, and it's going to get a little advanced, so bear with me.
Love it, man.
Oh, please. We love it.
Cool. So let's go to some. Am I going the right way? Probably
Just a couple of geeks, man. That's what it is.
Man,
not.
with the HEX layman's white paper, I'm complaining, man. I want a complex white paper.
Right.
Where's
Give
the
Yeah.
us the
hard to
numbers,
understand
man.
white
We need the
Yeah.
paper?
It's a little
numbers, bro.
Yeah,
lackluster. Yeah.
I
They
want
made
the
it for
white
the
paper where
layman's.
I need a degree to understand it. That's the white paper I want.
So check this out. Let's talk about T-shares once again. Well, what is a T-share? And where does the T-share rate come from? Well, the T-share itself is, again, an accounting mechanism. And that accounting mechanism is given a value based on what is actually happening in the system. And that value comes from the requirement that we see on this screen as far as what we call the T-share rate. And that's just an abbreviation that I made up. And the other day it was 19,565 hex per T-share. Now, what you need to understand is that today is 19,602 hex per T-share, if not 6. Actually, let me see something. I think it might be 6. I just want to be sure. Yeah, 19,608.
Mhm.
So what that means is to acquire a T-share payout, a payout per T-share of 5.7 hex and above,
So the
you
full payout.
a full payout, you need at least 19,608 hex. Now,
Mhm.
that's what the systemic requirement is. That's not the market requirement. The market requirement is outlined by that blue line. Now, where do we get that blue line from? Well, that blue line comes from dividing the dollar value of a T-share by the dollar cost of 10,000 hex. And that's what these two lines are here. This is 10,000 hex, and this is the value of a T-share. Now, what I'll do is I'll just show you 3446.9, I think it was, divided by 1750.4, I think it was. Let me see. 0.8 and 0.47. So I was only off by a little bit. And what you'll see is, guess what? 1.96907. And what you then do then is multiply it by 10,000. And the reason we multiply it by 10,000 is because that was the base rate for the hex system. Oh, sorry, wrong tab. So basically, when you go here, like this point, 10,000,
Mhm.
right? And this is why we just multiply by 10,000, because we get a rate, a specific rate, right? But it's really just a number that gives us the number by which we have to multiply to 10,000. So we then get 19,690.71, right? Which rounds up to 19,691.
So what you're basically saying now, the system is, the T-share rate as per code, as per the system is that pink line, right? So we
Correct.
got that specific pink line. This is what the system, and now, if there's some sort of not weird, but out of line behavior from the stakers and stakes, emergency stakes, whatever the case might be, that's resulting in a more of a modified T-share rate, which is the blue line, right?
Well, not necessarily. The blue line is just strictly the dollar value as the system is experiencing it in real
Okay.
time.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's market demand, right?
Okay.
Sorry to
So,
interject here. Why is it
go ahead.
that we flattened out there? It used to be it used to move
Yeah,
around. Why is it that we flattened out?
good
Everybody's
question.
behaving.
Yeah, good question, because that's exactly what it is. This is what you're seeing now that pretty much all the inflation was out of the system. That's basically what this is, because all this is showing is anytime the blue line is, I think it's above or below. Hold on, let me see. I think it's below. Yeah, anytime the blue line is below the pink line, that's when there's supreme value to be had from the system. And you're picking T-shares up at a ridiculous price, right?
Right.
Because the system isn't requiring you to have that much hex. You're getting a discount. You're getting it in discount in real time,
Mhm.
right? And that discount is in real time for the market, because these are market prices. So every time I record these prices here, this is the 8 o'clock or the crossover time. This is the crossover value. So every print you're seeing here is a crossover value. So this is from the market. That blue line.
Mhm.
That blue line is the market saying, hey, there's a premium on this now. Because as you can see, there's a gap.
Mhm.
Right.
You could sell this as an indicator, man.
Not anymore, man. I think this is just going to be a permanent situation because the
Yeah.
market understands. Like you got to realize, most of the people that use this hex system, they're not just passing on by. They're here for a long time, so they understand that they can't sit around and wait for the t-shirt rate. They're just going to pay whatever it costs, and unfortunately, that's causing a premium, right? And what you're typically paying or actually paying when you buy hex and stake it, it's just what's going on.
And that premium could, I mean, theoretically continue to increase in perpetuity as long as the
Yeah,
market assumes demand,
yeah,
Yeah.
So I
that's
guess
right.
that's what I guess me and Brendan were talking about before, because we're thinking, and there's going to be also our follow up question between someone that owns Hex and staking it, and someone that's owning Hex and just investing in it, right? We're saying, okay, so we know with staking, how much on average per year is a staker getting in terms of interest? Roughly in your
Yeah, so
based on your analysis.
it works in terms of time frames, like how long you're staking for.
Let's just say for the average. The average is like 5 point some right now. How
Yeah,
much a year would be?
5.83, you're getting like 38%.
Okay, I
Yeah,
see. So for someone, let's say now the price of Hex, let's say, drops more than 30%. We're just thinking about different mechanisms and strategies to go about how to actually go about using Hex, investing in it, or building wealth through Hex.
sure.
What would be the difference between, let's just say, Hex goes below 30% in terms of price, right?
Uh-huh.
Now we know overall the t-shirt rates consistently gonna increase. So if you're waiting over some period of time, you're only gonna have to pay more and more per t-shirt, Hex, to get a t-shirt, so you can get paid that full amount per day, I guess. But
Right.
let's say now, if the price of Hex drops in terms of percentage a lot more, let's say, than what the t-shirt rate is actually increasing. Now you're able to buy more Hex at a lower price and actually compensate for that increase in t-shirt rate. And now you can kind of keep up with the t-shirt increase. So whenever you actually end up wanting to stake, you are still able to get that t-shirt. Is that valid? Is that a valid strategy? Is that something you kind of for someone that has a bit of a
Mhm.
I see Brendan
I
is
want to jump
smiling.
in so bad.
But for someone that has a bit reservations when it comes to
Yeah,
staking, or
yeah.
someone that you get what I'm saying, who still wants
No,
to be
no,
in the
yeah, you're trying to
system,
figure
but
out what's the
yeah,
downside, right?
yeah,
And the downside is this. You have to understand how the system works to realize that there is no downside,
I
right?
see.
And how is that when the prices dropped 70%, 80%? How can that be? Well, it's very simple. This is an actual productive economic asset, right? And what that means is that this actually generates value every single day.
Hmm.
So a short-term blip of 50, 60, 6 months, 90 days, whatever the case is, it's just a short-term blip because the system doesn't actually stop working, right? And you even said it. The t-shirt rate is always going up. Literally by code, it's always designed to go up. There's literally no line that says the t-shirt goes down ever.
Hmm.
Right. So the market is literally being forced by the system, and we got a chart to show it, the chart to show it. Um, it's literally being shown by the system, right, that it has to always pay more over time, no matter what. Now, this chart is the dollar value of T-share divided by the dollar value of Ethereum and versus the dollar value of Bitcoin. So as you guys can see, the T-share, which is a value proposition for Hex, which is what people have to pay for in order to acquire that payout, that's always going up in value.
Right.
So what that ultimately means is that if the system is consistently printing value over time, which is what you're seeing with this orange line, well, guess what the price is going to have to do? It's going to have to follow suit. It has to, because the system is designed to do that. Like, so let's put it like this. You guys understand the bonding curves and how they work? Bonding curve tokens and how they work?
Yep.
So good. So it's like a match, right? You got to strike the match in order for the fire to get lit, right?
Hmm.
So what this means in this case is you got to buy hex, stake hex, which then burns the hex, which mints the T shares, right? Which then at the end of that stake, you burn those T-shares, mint the hex again, and then the cycle is complete. So this is how this coin is designed to work, right? So as long as the cycle or the system is always perpetuating that cycle, it's always going to be doing this. Always. Right? Because this is
I see.
literally the whole purpose of the system. So what it means is that the price is going to have to follow suit, because here's something that most people don't know about this. And this is a little high grade, and maybe you guys will like it. Check it out. These are rolling correlations right here. 21 days, 55 days, 34 days in the respective colors. Now, I track each one. I've been tracking it for a while. This is the price of HEX. This is the correlation between the dollar cost of HEX and the dollar cost of a T-share. Notice how we know that you always need more HEX to acquire a T-share. And guess what? The value between both in a correlated fashion is 1. Meaning, if the dollar cost of a T-share is always going to go up because you need more HEX to buy it, then ultimately over time, the dollar value of HEX has to go up. Has to, because you need more HEX to acquire that one T-share.
Can I get a bit of clarification on that point?
Sure.
Would you go so far as to say there is a direct correlation there, or simply
Yeah.
an incentivization mechanism?
No,
Like,
it's a
how far
it's a
would you
direct-
go there?
It's a direct correlation. Let me show you.
Mm,
Got charts for everything around here, baby. We don't play.
love it.
We do not play.
And by the way, while you're pulling up that chart, I just want to quickly, I think it's worthwhile prefacing this most recent question by Messin. Because look, man, like we said beforehand, me and Messin have been debating HEX, and specifically, we really appreciate you clarifying a lot of these things, because a lot of our debate has been due to like specific rate changes, because depending on these different rate changes, it really impacts the system and your payout and the increase of it impacts everything here. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate some of this clarification here. And also, I want to get to another question, but I don't want to I don't want us to forget this point here. So why don't you go ahead?
No worries.
Before I change the topic.
This is the correlation set for every data point through October 7th that's existed between HEX and T-shares, right? So this is the correlation between each. And as you guys can see, that R2 value, R squared, is 0.7 basically.
Right.
I mean, you don't see many correlation pairs of this nature where it's a right angle, a 45-degree angle.
Right. So I guess for the people who don't know, the R squared is the correlation coefficient. We're always aiming for 1 correlation coefficient. If it's 1, it's a perfect correlation. 0 correlation. I guess we have like a 70, like 0.7 correlation between the T-shares and HEX, which is, pretty impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what it's about, right? I mean, this is exactly what I'm trying to explain. HEX has to literally travel the trajectory of T-shares, and you can see it. I have a chart for it that actually shows you exactly that. Because this is the whole point, right? We try to understand what the system is doing. We don't want to buy into promises. We want to actually understand what the story is here that the system is telling us. Because again, this is a system, right? This is a completely decentralized system. It doesn't need exchanges. You can interact with it on your own whim, right? You don't need any intermediary here to say, hey, come put your money in this slot. We don't need that, because here you pay yourself, right? This is unique in that respect. And this is important to understand, because when you're looking at this chart, that pink line is literally the daily payout as it's progressed in dollar terms over time. And as you guys can see, we're basically at $1 now. So every day for every single T-shirt that you have, you're receiving $1. And
Right.
at one point, you were receiving nothing though, right? So you had to sit through all of that. So there are now people entering the system that are finding themselves in that same position because they can't afford a full T-share because it costs $3,500, right? Because they weren't around when it cost 60 cents, right? And they weren't getting anything. And that's the thing that people forget, right? There was a point in time where this paid nothing. I mean, let's look at all the zeros on the right side of this chart.
It's a whole lot.
It's a whole lot of zeros, right?
If I can interject real quick, I want to push back. If we can go back to your coefficient chart where you have
Sure.
that nice coefficient. Couldn't what we're seeing here be a result of that incentivization mechanism? And due to this incentivization mechanism of the price forever being incentivized to chase the value of a t-shirt, couldn't that result in what appears as a correlation? Although what appears as a correlation is truly the result of just an incentivization mechanism. Would you concede to that, or would you disagree with that
Oh
statement?
yeah, no, I can 100% agree, and that's the whole point,
Okay.
right? It's all about the game theory and the system, right? And here's the thing about uh, a lot of software or game theory systems that a lot of people don't try to understand. In order for the system to be successful, i.e., work, right? I.e., be a coins like Hex that is actually minting and burning T-shares. That's literally the objective of Hex. If it's not doing that, then the system has failed, and the price does not propel itself higher. That's literally the whole purpose here, right? So if the logic behind that does not fit the parameters of the system, then the system will fail.
It's ultimately the game theory that needs to work for the system to
Correct.
continue, right? Yeah.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. If the game theory doesn't fit the math, then it's all for naught.
No,
Basically.
what? No wonder you guys always. All I hear from the Hex community is game theory, game theory. I've never even heard
Yeah.
about the word game theory before I started watching
Right.
Hex
Yeah,
YouTubers.
it's a common term
Yeah.
amongst the economic community. But you know, they just profess to be intellectuals over there. They're really not, because they never created anything like this, right? It took
Yeah.
Richard Hart to do it. And you know, the whole space is really perplexed by it because, you know, they understand what this means.
Right.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
This removes the negative externalities from the people's portfolio exposure, and this is what you need in order to be successful ultimately.
Yeah, man. And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I got a question, man.
Please.
All right.
You go-
So
you-
one quick
You have my
question.
permission. You have my permission.
Appreciate it, boss. One question, man. So I guess this kind of goes. I just haven't heard much, and I guess in the Hex community, that question being asked a lot. I think you know, as much as we are, I guess you know, pay attention a lot to the system and the staking and the stakers and whatever the data is actually telling us. Based on what I looked so far, I think also the price that you stake Hex at is also significant, in my opinion. And my question to you is, let's say you got two people, right? Someone that, you know, bought Hex and staked it at, let's say, the 50 cent region, you know, with whatever T-shares that were there. So they got access to T-shares and they had to stake based on, you know, 50 cent Hex. And someone who waited, let's say, for a year, for example, and they, let's say by that time, Hex was down, let's say, for example, 50% or 40%, whatever the case might be. And they were able to accumulate more Hex to actually end up paying, you know, for T-shares and stake, right? Between the first person who actually got to come in at a lower T-share rate, you know, because they got in earlier, and between the other person that waited a year but ended up, you know, being because Hex was actually down in price, they were able to accumulate more Hex for the same amount of dollars that both of these guys actually started at. Would the second person still get more interest than the first person?
So here's how it works: the interest you get is proportional to the dollars you put up. It's not actually, and that is going to be commensurate with the time that you spend in the system,
So
right?
the price doesn't matter much, you're saying, or
Not really, no, because the thing is how do we look at things? We look at them in dollar terms.
right?
So ultimately, we're going to look at our P&L in those terms because the system is still going to give you the same payout with respect to the dollar value that you put in. Now let's look at it because it's always better to look at things in real life versus just talking about them. So let's go
100%.
to hexcalc.net. And a lot of people like to
Bro, how
use.
many links you got memorized,
We got a
man?
lot.
Holy
We
shit.
got lots of links.
Dude, this
You
is
can't
all I
even ask
do,
him
man.
one question, man. And he's just
Oh man, I
is-
love it. Yeah,
This is
that's
all
great.
we do, man. All we do is
100%,
talk money,
man.
baby, because we want that financial freedom. You know,
100%. You got to put the work.
that's it. And in order to do that, you got to know where to go. You got to know where the information is. And you got to know the information that matters, right? Because, like always, there's this thing called, and analysis paralysis, right? Where you're just constantly making decisions, and then you make so many decisions that you don't know what you're thinking anymore.
That's
And at
true.
that point, you're just lost in the sauce. And what are you doing, right? You're really just like a chicken with your head cut off, just spinning around.
That's
I
true.
mean, what good decisions are you making when you can't think straight? None,
That's
right?
true.
And that's ultimately the power in Hex. It removes that failability that we have as humans to make bad decisions over and over. So let's take a look at what I think a T share is like 16,500 hex or something like that. Let's see.
Yep.
16,500 hex for 365 days. Let's see if that's about right. Yeah, it's about right. 16,200. A little short.
Oh, Brendan, that's the same website you were using last time, weren't you?
Which one? I was looking at
Uh, come on, focus, man.
I'm sorry.
Trying to make money
I'm
here, man.
focused. I'm just this one.
Yeah. I think that's where we were looking at last time. We're trying to see how much 1,000 would get us versus like a
Yeah.
different place.
This is the website I was on when I was figuring out what kind of yacht I want 15 years down the road.
Man, this guy's oh my god, yo, this guy is
By the
calling me
way-
every day saying, if you get a 30-meter yacht, it's a
No.
lot better than
Oh, but-
40-meter yacht.
By the way, Wales only 15 years down the road, or 13 for you, 12, whatever it is. If you want to pick out a yacht, call me up. I know a lot about yachts. Been doing a lot of research. You really want a yacht between
You ready?
No, really, I got you. You really want a yacht between 30 and 40 meters. That way you can charter across Atlantic because you want to summer in the Greece Isles. So that's really important for you, right? Whenever picking out a yacht.
He's not joking. He's not
No, I
joking.
can tell
I
he's
hope you
serious.
understand.
Oh, I can tell you the different lines, different brands, and yeah, no, I got you. Just call me.
That's
Holy
what's up,
shit, man.
Good to know because I don't know anything about that. So that's more stuff I gotta learn. Sick.
15 years from now, a lot of people are gonna have this problem. Hopefully.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what we want, right? We ultimately want that problem. I mean, imagine if you had 100 Bitcoin. Yeah, that's what I tell people. And, it's that simple because at the end of the day, this isn't going to be 100 Bitcoin in 2 years. I mean, Bitcoin's been around for 12 years.
That's true.
Slow down. You know what I'm saying?
Take it easy. Just take it easy for a bit.
Yeah.
Relax for a bit. But yeah,
Slow
go ahead,
down.
man. Sorry to cut you off here, man. What do you got?
No worries. You're all good, brother. So we know a T-share for 1 year is gonna pay out 2,118 hex. Simple,
Mhm.
right? So this is how we look at it. If you want to know what 2 T-shares is, well, you multiply this number by 2, right? And that's all we're doing. 37,200. All right, gave us a little bit more because we use a little bit more size. So that's another feature of the system, right? It takes into account how much X you're putting up, and it actually rewards you for it.
Bigger piece, better, I guess.
Yeah. And a lot of systems don't do that, right? Like, what system does that where they're just giving you more for participating? I mean, like there's a lot of things that people say Hex, is negatively wise, right? And that's because they don't actually take the time to sit down and figure out what the hell's going on.
Hold on. Are you suggesting that jumping to conclusions prematurely with not a lot of knowledge is maybe a bad thing to do?
Perhaps.
Sounds
wow.
like it, man.
Groundbreaking.
Sounds
Groundbreaking. Wow, that's crazy, man.
It sounds crazy, right? But people do it all the time.
All the time.
So I guess going back to my initial question then, buying Hex at a bit of a discount, let's say, is not putting me at a bit of an advantage.
He's
you
trying
mean disadvantage.
He's trying to justify not being staked.
Hey man, I'm still trying to get more information here. That's all. That's all, man.
Let me show you. So this is a 1-year stake, right? And I literally just did a stream on staking $500 because gas is so expensive right now.
That's true.
Right. And it's like, everybody doesn't just have, $6,000 to throw down on an investment and tuck it away for 2 years or a year. Right. A lot of people are hoping to invest their money and make 10 G's hopefully here real soon and be able to do something with that. But it never works out that way. And that's the power behind staking. It helps you make a conscious decision that's not exposing you to downside risk. And people really can't wrap their head around that. Because when you're not staked, you can easily just be like, all right, I'm selling and I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You're locked in on that loss.
Just realize now.
I really
Just
agree.
realize.
Yeah.
It's real. I mean,
Just
it's
stop
it's all a
smirking,
mental
man.
game. It's a mental game, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's a
So you're
mental
saying
game.
that the value of HEX also lies not only in terms of numbers and the math and the data we have, but also in terms of discipline.
Correct. It forces your
I see.
discipline if you don't have it. Like
I see.
nowadays, I really don't have to look at Hex all the time. I know it's doing the same thing it does every day because it's literally just an accounting function. Like it's not something that's doing backflips in the background. You know what I'm saying? It's literally just tabulating something relative to a clock. And that's all Hex is doing. It's not doing anything fancy. You know, it's literally designed to be a store of value. And it's something that, you know, a lot of people in my seat, you know, that work on Wall Street and have been looking for this kind of value promulgating mechanism because this is, you know, Hex is it could be its own ecosystem, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that this thing replaces a lot of things on Wall Street all in one shot. And a lot of people don't realize that. But you know, there's gonna come a time where I'm not gonna be the only guy that knows this. You know, and it's gonna be game over at that point. Um,
It's true.
yeah, well, understand the power, right? Now we're talking about being staked for 5.8 years minimum, and what happens if you lose 40% in that time? That's the question, right? And is staking worth it, right? Because you know, here's something that you might not know when you're staked, all those little spikes, right, that you saw earlier. Let's go back here.
T-shirt rate.
No, these
Paying for
spikes
the
here,
show.
these spikes are increasing the payout. So this day we received 24 hex per t-shirt.
I thought it was
Is
higher
that
than that.
when
I thought it was higher
the
all the way up to like
hack
30 or
happened or
something. But
something?
Yeah,
yeah,
because of the
yeah,
hack.
yeah,
It was 24.36 or something like that.
yeah.
I feel bad for that guy, man.
Yeah.
God damn, like
Yeah, I
that's
met him
crazy.
before.
Yeah.
You did.
81-year-old gentleman named Hex 19. He's the boss. But luckily for him, he had other wallets, so he's still good.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
That's good, man. He's doing good, man. He's feeling
Yeah.
good still. Like that's
Yeah, I mean, you
crazy,
know,
man.
you got to charge it to the game in these streets, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing. And the crypto, you got to know what you're doing. Like,
That's true.
you know, we all take our licks. You know, we all take our licks, and life is about taking a lick and keeping it going because you're never gonna know everything.
Right.
That's true, man.
Yeah. And look, if I can just interject here for a while because I've been meaning to ask you. So, Wales, I want your help. I want to ask you for a favor. Okay. So,
He's gonna ask a crazy question, man. Watch.
let's say you got this friend, right? And this friend owns Hex, but isn't staking any Hex. I know we've touched on this a little bit, but if you had to give an elevator pitch as to why you should stake Hex, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I usually like to use math to make my points because it's hard for people to refute that. So
Right.
let's say we're worried about taking a 40% loss over a year, right? And we're talking about this amount of hex for 2 shares, and we see that the total payout is $6,685, right? 54 cents. So we're seeing that we're putting in $5,900, right? Simple enough. And let's assume that at the end of that ride, it's going to be 40% less. Does it not want to calculate it? What's up?
I think you had the same number still.
I think we
that
broke it.
0.10. We broke the system, man.
broke
You
the
broke the
system.
system, Wales.
Is that what happened? Let me see.
What if we put 6.5 cents? Because that's where the liquidity distribution is on version 2, man. I don't know if you've seen.
Please select value to the nearest. Oh, hold on. We gotta pick. Let's do that. All right. So you went down to $4,026, right?
Mhm.
But you still made the same amount of crypto, which we didn't even look at. So hold on, let me go back. So you can see the dollar went up, the dollar value went down, crypto went up the same amount, right? Like your ROI in crypto didn't change.
It's gonna stay the same.
It's gonna stay the same, right? But your dollar value did go down 30% or whatever, right? Now, let's think about this. What's the likelihood that a crypto that actually pays people to hold it So hold it, not to do anything. Just hold it.
Mm.
What is the likelihood of finishing a year down 40% on something that actually pays you 12% on an annual basis? Because that's what this does, right? On an annual basis, let's say you got 5.75 hex a day for 365 days. That's that much, right? And let's say the T-share rate right now is 19,608, right? So there you go, 11%, right? That's basically the number,
Mm.
10.7, whatever, 11%, right? So that's basically the yield right now. Where are you going to get 11% yield at? In crypto.
Well, I mean, I could stake stable coins on Celsius for 10%, but then you got third party risk there. So
There you
I hear
go.
you. Yeah.
Where you keep your keys, right?
Yeah.
Where only you interact with the contract, where you determine the length in which you stake your coins and when you get them back, right? There's power in that, right? What's the realization that something like this can happen over a year in the crypto? I mean, most bear markets in crypto only last a year.
Yeah.
That's the pattern we've seen so far. Damn, we never even went to Bitcoin. So,
Bacon's
really?
dropping 57K right now.
Is it time to panic sell?
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. These crazy, man. The thing is, YouTube monetizes it too, man. They just kind of go on that hype, Everybody's just saying, it's time to get scared and time to, just to FUD everything. But it is what it is. That's what the market is all about these days, I guess, man.
But
Agreed.
so, okay, let me teach you guys a little something. There's something I call a sentiment check, right? Now, what's that? Well, a sentiment check is basically the fever or the temperature of market psychology. Is everybody happy? Is everybody sad? And when everybody is sad, or they want you to be sad, or they're looking for you to be sad, or maybe you have the vantage point that you're seeing something that others do not, right? Which is what it sounds like to me, because they are trying to FUD people out, right? In a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways, they also want you to buy in. Right?
But at the
Let's
right
see.
price, at their
At
price.
their price, correct. Because right now they're hoping that you're buying here because they're selling. But you're hearing certain things that are like, oh, regulations this, regulation that. But that's
true.
because they want people to sell. Right?
So I have a
it's
question
like,
for you, man.
what's up?
What else do you own beside HEX?
Great
Do you own
question.
anything beside HEX?
Are you a
Nah.
secret Shiba whale?
Nah, that's actually it.
That's
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah, you know why? Because when I got into HEX, it was worth nothing. So I've literally had all of my good money made from HEX.
There you
And
go,
the
man.
reality is that HEX really goes up most of the time. A 60-day sell period. That like this period that we're seeing right here, bro, like this is unprecedented. And this is literally setting the market up for a move that we have not, like, we just can't fathom what's coming.
You're referring to HEX.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of all of the selling that's happening. And I mean, we're literally printing the same pattern.
But hey, man, what if the contrary, just to be the devil's advocate here? What about this being the cycles blow off top? We're having the 85-95% correction. The Ponzi's over. The Richard Hart's cashing in, and we're going to zero.
It's disappearing.
Yeah, that's always a good one. It's funny. People don't really know that Richard Hart does crypto stuff because it's fun for him.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, yeah.
He was actually already retired and rich before he even started mining Bitcoin. And just to do a little more math, did you guys know that back then people were getting 50 Bitcoin per reward?
Per block, yeah.
Per block that they minted. And
Yeah.
they could have mined more than one in one day back then.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so
sorry to clarify. You're saying each node or each validator could not mine more than one block back in the day?
Back in the day, each person that was mining could mint a block, because how many transactions were really going through? How many people were really mining? Right? Like, it wasn't that many.
Right.
like maybe hundreds, but how big is the network today? It's a completely different thing.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thousands of nodes. And that's why it requires so much more hash power now, to the point that you got to be a completely huge corporation just to mine Bitcoin. You can't be a person in your mom's basement mining Bitcoin anymore.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So
But you can with HEX. You can.
you can with HEX, right?
You can mine the whole day in your mom's basement with HEX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So let's assume he was minting 15,000 or 50 BTC for a whole year, every day, one block, every day. Now we know what the price is now. Right? Let's just give it 55,000. That's just 1 year, 1 billion for 1 year.
Man, Richard needs to start buying lobbyists, man, and buying politicians. All these crypto people complaining about regulations. Y'all are rich. Just buy some politicians. Start hiring some lobbyists. Like, I don't know what it's,
They don't get crypto, man. They won't get paid in crypto. We need like cash dollars.
It is significantly cheaper to buy a politician than one would think. $50,000 would do it for a cycle.
Yeah, that's what the actual paper shows, man.
So let me help you guys understand something. A lot of the things that you guys see on TV is really just acting, right? So all those people that are professing to not understand or to understand or whatever the case is, they're not actually trying to understand anything.
No one's interested in understanding.
Yeah, nobody's interested in doing anything. They're actually.
You're saying politicians are not honest, man?
Whoa,
yes, sir. That's correct.
Damn.
Something.
Goddamn. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad fact, right? I mean, this is why crypto exists, right? Crypto comes from all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and man, that's why it's here to stay. Like this whole world.
It is.
We're all building this independent economic model that's meant to be better than legacy markets and legacy institutions, and it's just a matter of time before people figure this stuff out. And man, like in terms of HEX too, like look, the most recent price action looks like dog shit. Nothing but lower highs and lower lows. The downtrend may very well continue. But with that being said, I really think we all need to have a sense of perspective here and how early we are. Only 71.7 thousand stakers for HEX. Like HEX has only been around, 2 years? What is this thing going to look like 5-10 years down the road? Like for me personally, like, I'm trying to convince a friend to stake, but for me, the greater risk in HEX is not, price dropping 85-95%. The greater risk is not having any exposure, in my opinion, to something that a system that could see tremendous upside moving forward. I'm sure you agree, but yeah, man. So friend, have you been convinced at all to stake?
What, are you speaking to me?
I'm thinking. Yeah.
I think honestly, Wales, we pretty obvious by now that out of the two,
you're the friend.
I got I am the friend, I guess.
Yeah.
But look, I think at the end of the day, man, it's all about gaining more and more information. That's what it is, and I guess a lot of the times, we can't make decisions if we don't have the full picture, and I think that's everybody.
Right.
So it's only if the product is what the product is telling, it's like us that it is, and that's what it's designed for. I guess it's only a matter of time till the truth about all of that would convince that friend. But I think we need you more on the channel, man. I think you did your research a lot, and you're asking a lot of questions that we had. And man, I think we can keep you here for hours to come, man. To be honest with you, so. I mean, we don't want to keep you for long. It's been an hour and 20 minutes here.
Just understand one thing that's important. When you're staked every day and you're getting paid every day, there's nothing to think about because you're just getting paid. And doesn't everybody like to just get paid?
That's what it is.
So why would the price on something like that ever go down and stay down? It never has. I mean, look at this chart.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate to be here again, let's you may not drag things on too long if you got to go. We kept you for a long time here, but like the way I view HEX is, look, man, I'm a 5-5 Quattro Cinco day staker. Right, I'm bullish on this thing long term. But with that being said, I think I understand and can articulate the risk with HEX very well. And I mean, for me, and let's see if you agree. HEX really requires rational actors in order to succeed and incentivizes rational behavior. Like it is irrational, and there is an incentive for Richard Hart to not rug pull. It is rational, and are incentives for whales to not market sell. But we live in a world where not everyone's a rational actor, and some whale can just lose his mind. Someone kidnaps his dog and says, "Market dump 1 billion HEX, or else you kill your dog."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
You know,
get it. I mean,
so
imagine if Gucci just said, "Screw my quality. I'm gonna sell some Payless quality shit."
again, man,
Imagine. Like
no,
that's
like
pretty stupid, wouldn't you say?
if people act rationally, no, I
Yeah,
agree, man, and
but you got to understand there's certain levels of irrationality that just aren't plausible, right? Like look at the space in its entirety. The whole space is literally full of representations of promises that will never be achieved. People have been waiting for E 2.0 since what, 2015, 16, whatever.
4 more weeks,
4 more years, bro.
4 more, yeah,
But ETH is at 4,000.
yeah,
That's true.
Bitcoin isn't even what it was supposed to be, but it's at 60 something thousand.
That's true.
So, don't play devil's advocate so much because the road doesn't give a fuck.
There you go.
The
There you go.
asphalt is gonna still be there, and motherfuckers like me is gonna ride on by and
Yeah.
So
smile.
one more
So
question for you, man.
do the math.
One more question.
Don't think too much.
100%, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say overall right now, the system, good product, amazing product. We know what the numbers are. We know what we're looking for. We expect or forecast for the next whatever time. In terms of the legal aspect of what the law is gonna, I guess, find HEX to be. What are your I guess what's your perspective on that? How do you advise people to go from there? Because we know every country is going to look at HEX in a different way, in a different
Yeah.
fashion. Regardless, it could be labeled a security in one place, but not a security in another place. How would you go about it, and what would you advise people when they're getting into HEX with that in mind, for example?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, HEX has already been labeled not a security here in the U.S. Like Gensler already said, it's not a security, so that issue has already been settled. He already came out and said, "Not your keys, not your coin," meaning not crypto. So if you own any coins that trade on an exchange, or you hold coins that are on an exchange, that's not crypto. That's literally a security by the SEC's definition. So that's already actually been cleared up. So a lot of people just don't actually know because they don't pay attention to anything. But that's
That's what
actually
we need,
been,
you, man.
no. It's out there. Like, and that's the point. You don't need me. You need to know the information's out there because nobody's hiding it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we live in a point in time where all you gotta do is type the shit in.
That's true.
Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, people don't know things because they don't want to. It's not because it's hard to find, because ain't a damn thing hard to find. Because let me tell you, I wasn't born knowing any of this, right? And just like you guys weren't born knowing crypto existed, well, you had to learn that too, right?
That's
So
true.
over time, you're gonna have to come to learn and respect the fact that you don't know everything, right? And that includes me. I don't know everything. Richard Hart doesn't know everything. Nobody knows everything. So I think that maintaining that perspective on life, it helps you understand opportunities like HEX. It helps you realize that everybody doesn't really know anything, right? And it helps you make your own decision on what you think is right or wrong. And that's what actually matters, not what everybody else thinks, because everybody's going to think what they want to think, right? I mean, when you're looking at this chart, you're literally looking at 100% uptime. You're literally looking at 720 plus data points, right? Where every single day you got to open, high, low, close. You got to pay out per T-share. You got a certain amount of HEX that the system minted in forms of rewards via the inflation that the system's paying out. You have all these data points that point to what's actually happening on the blockchain. And people still call it a scam. People
That's
still
true.
call ETH a scam. People still call Bitcoin a scam. People still don't even know what crypto is. So I think just within crypto by itself, the majority of the space, number one, needs to learn what cryptocurrency is supposed to be, because all that's actually happening is a big, nasty replication of the stock market. That's all we got. I mean, how else do you have 10 meme coins?
Damn, bro. There's dozens and
Well,
dozens.
I'm
And
just
dozens.
Billion of those.
I'm just throwing out a random number because I actually
No.
don't even know.
Oh, there's
Bro,
so
you
many.
can't count that shit, man. You
Oh,
can't
man,
count
the
it.
See, I
amount of
didn't even
money.
know
stress.
that.
Oh,
Crazy.
there must be several dozens at this point.
Yeah, I had
It's
no
there.
idea. I
Oh,
had
it's
no
so
idea.
bad. It's gotten bad out there.
Yeah, and here
Yeah.
comes this thing, right? That literally actually does something economical.
And there's not much else like it, man. Like the tokenomics, all of it. Like I think it really helps have a sense of perspective and how really unique is from the tokenomics to the community. Like I'm frankly like when I finally, it took me a couple months for me to be confident in my understanding of this, but when I finally understood it, I'm like, I need to get in before other people figure this thing out.
Sell my kidneys.
And,
Sell my
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could, I would.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie to you because that's 6 figures right there.
I'm on the market right now. I hear you could sell part of your kidney and not the whole one. So, man, I'm not gonna get that that yacht without making some sacrifices. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
man. Right? I mean, hey,
Yeah.
I would like to ride in the Mediterranean with my homies.
Bro, that's
too.
why he's asking for $5 every day, man.
Hey, man,
Is-
I'll pay you
Hey.
back in 2 weeks. I'll pay you back in 2
$5 over 30 days is a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
my
You
that's
can
a
do a
lot
lot
of
with
money.
$5,
Bro,
man.
this guy's a thief, man. That's crazy.
Man, look, I got so many questions to ask you.
What's up? What's up? Shoot,
if
man.
you're okay with
Shoot.
it, I want to shoot out maybe a few more questions here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Did you sacrifice the pulse chain?
Oh yeah. I actually
What's up?
did.
Okay. Do you plan on dollar cost averaging when it comes out?
I would love to, but I'm not so sure that there's gonna be an opportunity like we expect. And the reason I think that is because only until recently did we see people like stop sacrificing into the sacrifice address, like literally like 2 days ago.
Yeah,
3
but
days ago.
the rate's insane at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous months ago. Look, I literally tried to interject and stop people from sacrificing like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah,
And people were just like, man, fuck you.
Get the hell out.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, like
yeah.
stop fucking with my flow. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys aren't realizing you're
Hey,
getting
man, you're
shit
being a
rigged.
buzzkill,
Yeah.
man. You're being a buzzkill. Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Buzz Killington.
Yeah.
Like people were not trying to hear me, but they didn't realize that, yo, you were getting a horrible rate. You were like, a lot of people are going to be dismayed when they come out and they see that their balance isn't what they thought it was going to be. And that's the one thing I'm worried about because I think that that's what's going to create potential sellers. But we also know that if gas fees weren't so high, more people would still be sacrificing because there is a ton of demand for a pulse chain. I mean, you just see it because the Telegram chat is growing to so ridiculous numbers. So many streamers are streaming about it. People want a good blockchain. It just does not exist.
That's true.
Well, so hold on. So you're not into Solana?
Nah, bro.
Man,
Nope.
okay. So don't you think that that pulse chain could move similar to the rest of the market? I mean, man, if pulse chain's coming out in a year, maybe a good argument. There's a good case to be made that that's going to be the beginning, if not in a bear market. Do you not think that pulse chain is likely to be influenced by Bitcoin and Ethereum in a greater bear market, if that is the case?
I don't know because I would say no, simply because when you think about how pulse chains tokenomics are designed to work, it's strictly deflationary. As soon as it launches, it's not going to be any more made. That's going to be it. That's not the case with Bitcoin, right? Like there's still new Bitcoin being minted. That total number has not been reached as 18 million something or another. And the simple fact of the matter is that they can jump in there and change the code if they wanted and make it 50 million. So you don't actually know that if you're holding Bitcoin, you're going to actually exit with what you think you got.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people don't understand. And here's another thing, right? People love to talk about decentralization and, all these ridiculous things that they don't actually understand. Let's look at something. Let's look at the Bitcoin rich list.
Who's got Twitter up here? Is this you?
So yeah, I guess as we're speaking about this, I saw someone in the comments which thank you, I guess, for bringing it up. I guess Richard Hart just put out a tweet saying, please check your sacrifice balances. Now people can check out their
Nice.
sacrifice balances.
Oh, is testnet version 2 out? or is just
I'm
the,
not really sure, but yeah, I guess we just need to see what this is all about.
Looks like a
God
CSP.
damn, yeah.
Oh well, this is wow,
God damn, man.
highly
Never mind.
informative. Right on. Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot of info here, guys. So
I don't see any balances on there, but
I don't see.
okay. Do I gotta
Yeah.
drop that on like a hex font and a calculator or something?
Yeah,
I
what's
guess
going
so,
on
yeah,
there?
bring up. You gotta get an accountant or
I
something.
think he
man.
just chose the wrong font. You
But that's true. But I guess
Um,
people can see it now, man. So
yeah. But yo, you're interrupting here, Wales.
yo,
No,
my
no, it's
bad,
all
man.
good.
Go
It's all
ahead, man.
good.
We're trying to throw information. Wales, go ahead, man. Before I
It's all
slap
good,
this
bro.
guy, bro.
It is all good because that's relevant too, right? I mean, if you sacked, you want to know what your balance
Oh,
is. I know I
definitely,
do.
man.
100%.
Yeah, I know
But
I
here,
do.
we can share your. Yeah, go ahead, man. We're on
No,
your
no worries. All
chart
I
now.
was gonna highlight was simply how 51%, right, of the addresses that hold Bitcoin hold less than 0.001 Bitcoin. Right.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's 2/10 or 2/100 actually of the entire coin supply, bro. Right. And
Now
this is
let's look
making up.
all the way down now.
Yeah, we talking about the
Yeah.
bottom of the bottom. And that's half of the population, bro. Half of the addresses.
Yeah. Yeah.
51% of the addresses only hold 4,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
are you suggesting that people don't really have a true sense of how highly centralized most crypto is?
Correct. They
Yeah.
really do not.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
They really do not. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Because this is information that's just readily available. I pulled it up in seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, it's funny how little a sense of irony I see people have in this space, man. Like the same arguments I'm hearing people lobbed at Hex are the same goddamn arguments that were used against Bitcoin and Ethereum when it first came out. All the
Yeah.
centralization. What about
They-
whales dumping? What about
Yeah.
all,
It's funny because here you actually have to. Okay, so when people emergency unstake, what happens? What happens is all of those penalties go two routes. Half of them go to the staker class, and the other half go to the OA.
Yeah.
Now, the OA is a cause for concern for a lot of people because they don't understand the tactic behind the OA. And the funny thing is if you look at the blockchain, you can see what the OA has done, and the OA has done nothing but protect the network.
It's been an active entity, and that's what this is something I wanted to ask you on. Do we know the exact address of the origin address? I know it's been like diluted further on, but do we know the original address of the origin address? Is that a public thing?
Yeah. It actually is. There's this guy named Gunther in the community that he literally has and I'll get you the Telegram. He literally has a Telegram channel where you can come and look at what the OA owns, what the OA has staked, which is only 13 or so % of the actual supply of the staked coins. But the OA owns like 96% of all the coins in its entirety or something crazy like that.
Didn't they unstake that as well? Like as soon as they
They're
staked, they
not
unstake, didn't they?
restaking. They're not restaking what they have staked.
Wait, you're saying the origin address is currently staked?
It has some coins staked, yes. Only
Interesting.
13% of all of the coins that are staked belong to the OA address.
Do we know when that's going to be unstaked?
I don't know. I think you can find out, but I don't really know because I don't really worry about that kind of
that would be a well. I mean, that might be a big deal though, because once that unstakes, presumably the payout
T-shirt rate's
potential
gonna fly.
would increase dramatically, and if they don't restake, that could be huge.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying
it's gonna be huge.
So you're saying
because that's the kind of thing that gets the T-shirt payout up.
Right. So so stakers and Hex, it kind of makes sense to be staked, in case
That's right.
people emergency unstake.
So here's the thing, right? Because this is where these spikes come from. This was
Yeah.
a 10 hex per T-shirt payout. This is a 10 per T-shirt payout, right? And this was a 24. Like these are numbers that if you got hundreds or thousands of T-shares, man, you ate good that day.
Yep.
Right.
Man. Yeah.
And now let me
We
ask
need
you
more
guys
people
this.
getting hacked, man.
Well, let's not say that.
Yeah.
But let me ask you guys this, right? Because it's kind of simple. What's the objective of trading or investing?
Make returns.
It's to compound your
money.
money, right? Compound your money. Now, what's in essence, right? What's the essence of staking?
Just compound more.
That's it. Just compound your money. So why wouldn't it make sense for you to use a tool that's made exactly for that?
I agree.
Kind of hard to argue against that logic.
Yeah.
I would say it's just the penalties, man. In my opinion, I think
Well,
the penalties would be a bit of a concern for some, for because you never know what could actually happen out of
well,
that.
here's the simplicity behind that. You don't put money where it doesn't belong.
That's true. So
And
you
you
got to
don't lock
know.
it away for a periods of time that you know you can't hold it out for. Because, for example, the money I would like when I figured out what I was doing with Hex when I discovered it, I knew I was gonna either be a billionaire or nothing. So once I figured out what t-shirts were, it was a no-brainer for me to lock 90% of my t-shirts up for 15 years. That's literally what I did. So
Right,
my staking average is 14.6 years.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. But to be fair to you, Messin friend there, you have not
Yo, man, stop calling me out, bro. You're about to you're trying to get me canceled up in
No, man,
this thing, man.
I was actually
Trying
going
to
to tell
live
you,
here, man.
which is, look, you've done a good job of being the devil advocate on the other side and articulating
I'm just asking
the
questions,
risks
man.
and the concerns behind the scenes, but you haven't done it now. So what maybe articulate what your concerns are exactly with staking, because you mentioned regulate, but put it in your words. Could you
So
say what
my
your
initial
concerns are?
theory was this. My initial theory was that the price of hex that I actually enter at matters for my for when I stake it. Then we went through that question, and I think we actually need to know more. I think it's good content even for the people that even have those kind of concerns. I think that's one of the biggest concerns for people that have some sort of reservation when it comes to just hex overall. And that's what we're trying to do in this channel as well, just to get the information, not opinions, just the straight facts, and then people can actually decide. But the first thing for me, I was thinking that the price that I actually enter at and Wales is smoking, man. But
Yeah,
the
bro, all the
price that
time.
I'm actually entering at, I think that's important. But I think that's something that we'll need to like maybe talk further about. Just educate each other about more, and also the penalties that could eat through some of your principal if you don't reach halfway through. So if we're looking at 15 years, sometime until 7 years, if you try to emergency stake, Wales, you can I guess comment on that as well. It could eat through your principal
Yeah.
depending on
You gotta
whatever.
wait
So
till at least 50% of the time staked
exactly.
to get your duration back once the stake is greater than 180 days.
Right. So I think those are the two main things that I would have some sort of
Reservation.
reservations on.
Yeah.
But again, man, we're just trying to learn and see what
Yeah, no,
what
I get
works
it.
for
I
them.
get it because a lot of people aren't used to making commitments. But this
That's
is what
true.
I'll tell you. This is what I'll tell you to get you comfortable with it. Because in my mind is actually really simple. And at first I had reservations also. And I did short stakes at the beginning. I didn't do long stakes. I figured out to do long stakes after I first initiated my, contact with the system, so to speak, right? Because it was alien to me. Um, and the cool thing is that I realized that this system was real. It works. There's nothing for me to be concerned about because once you stake and you stake, you get your shit back, right? That's like the biggest question, right? Are you really gonna get what you're supposed to get? And that's what people always wonder when there's these online so-called internet schemes, right? Like there's always
That's
some
true.
scam somewhere online. Um, and that was we were all trying to find out at the beginning, right? When we first come across this thing. And I gotta say, man, that once I realized that this thing was real, because I spent 60 days trying to put a hole in this thing once I discovered it. You
That's
know, I
true.
I bought some and I staked some and I tried to figure out because I was thinking Bitcoin terms, right? So I had like 20,000 thinking I had done some damage. Like that's what I had.
You're
Like
thinking you're all that, huh?
yeah. Because I'm
Yeah.
doing like 20,000 times 60,000, 60 million, or whatever the hell the number was at the
Oh
time.
man.
And the reality was that I picked up like 40 times more than that. Because by the time I was like out of cash, like that's all I could get. So I ended
That's
up
true.
getting a nice bag, right? But what if this thing runs to 10K a piece? Like,
That would be crazy, man.
because again, this actually does something that people need, and that's create money. And people can sit there and say, yeah, I need to put in this stake for this long, because here's the thing. You were talking about price, and here's something I want to explain to you. Because yes, because of when I came in, I was able to acquire X amount of HEX and X amount of T-shares at a certain price. But here's the thing you have to remember, right? At that time, you weren't making anything from having it.
Right.
Like, this was back in the day here, right? This was paying not even 2 cents.
Nothing.
Bro. Yeah, this was 2 cents a day. Like, this was nothing, right? But you were paying like $50 for that back then, right? So you were paying $50 to receive 2 cents. Like, but that's what it was. And it went all the way down, right? One day because of OA staked. But then it normalized and it came back. And then it eventually came, right? And price ultimately followed suit, because that's what it's designed to do.
Right.
Right.
And this is, I mean, again, this is what you're receiving on a daily basis multiplied by the number of T-shares you got. So this pink line is just the dollar value of a T-share. And it's already hitting $1.
That's true.
Right.
And
Wales,
it
you
costs
know,
3,000 plus.
you know the amount of times, I swear to God, I kid you not, man, I got a call 1 a.m, 1 a.m. Yo, wake up.
It's not.
Yeah, yo, shut the hell up, man. He's like, yo, wake up, man. What do you mean you're not staking? Boom, boom.
The correlation mechanism. There's a correlation mechanism.
Yeah, there is,
Hey,
bro.
man.
It's serious,
I love
man.
it, man.
Yeah,
I
It's
love
serious.
it, man.
Like, I understand your reservation because it's the laws of control.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
But
I
you
think it's
gotta-
something. I think it's something, man. Look, I think it's something. Look, man. All these talks about HEX being a scam or HEX being this or being look, man, that's out of the picture. I think that's like old news now. You know,
Yeah,
it's
clearly
pretty
not
clear
true.
there's a product here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a, you get what I'm saying? It's a
Yeah.
product and it's distinctive and it has a way of working. With that being said, it requires a special kind of person and a special kind of risk tolerance and a special kind of personality. And I think when people actually, realize some of those things, someone might have a problem with that commitment that's, like 45 or whatever can eat through your principal. Someone else might not. And usually people that, have a high risk tolerance are the ones that get rewarded at the end of the day. And people that don't will have to suffer, not even suffer. Maybe they're not suffering with that. It's just the cost of not risking some of this.
To your actions, right?
It is what it is,
That's
and
right. That's right.
And we're getting slowly used to the idea, man. So Brendan, man.
And look, man, you could even do a better job of articulating the risk too. Like you've gone on to explain, like, what if a similar competitor comes out, but they have a origin address kind of function, except they're public with it. And what if regulations come out, and what if MetaMask, I don't know, there's some whatever. There's a thousand problems that can go wrong. The longer the time horizon.
Yeah, I don't worry about stuff like that, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
If it'd be like that, why would I ever invest in anything? I mean,
That's
I've made look when I invested money here. I put my rent money in this, bro. Now I can buy a house. So, fuck
That's
what
true.
you're talking. Like all these what ifs, they don't pay the bills, brother.
That's true.
Like you can't. Like I understand the line of logic, but you got to realize that if you have the opportunity in front of you, you have to take it. It's that simple.
True.
You can't worry about the consequences when it's something that's going to actually benefit you and give you the opportunity to pay for a way out of that situation, right? Because it's not like we're selling drugs here.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. This is not harming anybody's health.
No. There's a product here, man. There's a product.
Have you talked to Peter McCormick? I don't know, man.
That guy's a fucking clown.
Oh, man. That guy's
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Okay. Real quick here.
Bro, we gotta let the guy go, man. Go ahead,
man.
Do you have time for one more question?
Go ahead, man.
You sacrificing the pulse swap?
Yeah. Assuming there is one. I mean, he said probably. We don't really know.
Assuming you have a friend who is dubious about sacrificing the pulse swap.
Yeah, I told you we talked about this shit, bro.
This guy.
This shit.
You're the problem child.
No, there's a lot of unknowns. All we have is a tweet, right? But,
Yeah, we don't know
yeah.
anything, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't know anything.
yeah.
Might not even happen
Yeah.
for all we know. Maybe he'll use post sack points and be like, "Fuck everybody." You know, we don't
That's
know.
true. That's true.
We
Yeah.
don't know. You might
Yeah,
get it
well,
anyway. You might not even want it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you sack for pulse, right, Messi?
We will, man. We will.
What do you
Oh,
mean?
you guys,
Oh.
you guys didn't sack for pulse? I thought you did.
Oh, for Pulse, I thought, are you talking about Pulse Swap or Pulse Chain?
Yeah, no, post chain.
Oh,
Sorry.
we did. Definitely.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
sacrifice as much as Brendan did here, man. But
Oh,
you know, I
forced
dabbled
this
in
guy.
it, man. I
I was
dabbled
like,
in it,
there
man.
is no way you were not sacrificing.
I did God's work, man. All right, so we'll just keep it at that.
Yeah. No, we got some exposure, which is good. So
That's what's up. That's what's
Yeah.
up. Yeah, as long as you got some, you know, because you just never know,
yeah,
right? And that's the whole point. What if I would have kept my Bitcoin? I had Bitcoin when it was worth nothing. What if I
Right.
would have kept it?
so you're
I
not a
don't-
maxi.
No,
You
I'm whatever works.
Yeah.
And this works.
yeah. I know. I hear you.
You know, a T-share is really an accounting function. You know, this is all software. And it's important people remember that. This is software that helps you create value. That's all. You know,
That's true,
once you realize that, it's easy to get over these ridiculous hurdles that people have in their heads. There's zero reason for having them, like zero. I mean, think about it. What if you got up out the bed and busted your ass and never got to the bathroom?
That's true.
Yep.
There's a lot
Great
of what ifs in
example,
this.
man.
There's
a lot of what ifs,
well,
bro.
There's a lot of what ifs is the point.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Because it happens. People die not even getting into the bathroom in the morning. Like it happens. This is not unrealistic. That's more realistic than what you're talking about. And that's the crazy thing, right? Like we have to be able to ascertain real levels of risk versus dubious levels of risk, which are not really there. Right.
That's
and this
true.
is how we're able to make the right investment decisions and not invest in something like a BitConnect where we can't figure out where the funds are coming from. Because I remember BitConnect back in the day and I already understood how to look at investment decisions. Where is that money coming from? Oh, they just taking this shit from new people? That's a Ponzi. Boom. Done. Right. Here, the system is literally designed, right? And we can verify with math that it's doing so and all this stuff, right? That, hey, if it's staked that X percent is going to pay out Y percent. And it's literally working like that. Like, this isn't even a secret. You know what I'm saying? And these are the kind of
true.
things you need to look for. Like, how can I verify information? That's why all of my charts are nothing about the price, really. Right? It's just that the price, it's really the price thrown on top of other stuff. That's really all it is.
That's true,
So,
man. That's true. Man, looking through some of these comments here, man, seems like people are liking the live stream, man. This is a great stream. I've never seen the other guys beside Wales. All right, man, we're not as famous as Wales, okay? But like their comedy and clear friendship. We got, very educational stream. Thank you guys, bro. This is a great conversation. Hey, man, this is a great conversation. I'll be
yeah,
honest
it was
with
fun,
you. I
guys.
did
It's
not.
fun. It's fun. You
Yeah.
guys are good. You guys
Yeah.
are good. We should do this again for sure.
100%, man. We need
Yeah.
you here a couple more hours, man. I think we got a lot more questions, man. This is just the tip of the iceberg, man. We got a lot more questions. I think, man, we were talking a lot before, me and Brendan. I'm telling you, man, we got into a lot of fights and back and forth, but at the end of the day, it was for the sake of the truth, man. And we actually got some information out of it. And we used to look through, we try to find people online, try to, the contracts, the white paper doesn't really provide as much technical information.
Yeah.
Right. So we're trying to make sense of all of this. We saw the charts from before. We had questions about your charts. And bro, I'll be honest with you, we never thought you'd be on this on the channel, and now you're here. So I think I'm really happy that set the stone, man. I think we really need you here. A lot more. All the questions. We'll gather more questions, and man, we should get you. A lot more often.
Yeah, man, I don't mind, bro. It's a pleasure. And here's the thing, right? A lot of people just have it confused. A lot of people don't realize that the whole objective is to have a conversation. If we can't have a conversation, we can't learn what's actually going on.
That's
right?
true.
Like a lot of people are under the impression that they actually are aware, right? And they're not realizing that they're not actually aware. Like a lot of people that are Bitcoin maxis don't even know how Bitcoin works. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I was literally having a conversation with a dude on stream that was a Bitcoin maxi that did not know how Bitcoin worked.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Extreme confidence paired with little knowledge is never a good combination.
Never.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is what we run into in this space, right? So, you guys at least willing to ask, willing to ask questions and willing to just be honest and be like, yo, we don't get it. And that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like the whole point of this channel, the reason why we started is we're just trying to figure this space out and hopefully help other people along the way and share the knowledge we learned. So, man, look, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your time with us, sharing your thoughts and your insights. I don't think I mentioned this, but actually you were a pretty large part of my journey and learning about HEX and getting into HEX. So thank you for what you do, man. And thank you for your time.
Pleasure, man.
Thanks for coming
My
on.
pleasure. My pleasure.
So now, man,
Anytime,
we got the real question for you, man. Where are we gonna get these charts from, bro? Is this online? Whatever you got?
Yeah,
Or is this your
man.
own?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. So wellsonly.com/charts. I'll throw it in the private chat. I mean, most people probably got that information by now.
Yeah.
I also put that Telegram audit link in the private chat also, if you guys want to share that with your viewers.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys can share that with your viewers so you guys can see about the OA, because I'm pretty sure he has pinned messages and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because, like this crypto is actually the one crypto that actually has transparent data where you can see what's actually happening on the blockchain and you can pick and pluck and see in the weeds and all that. You can't really do that in other blockchains, right? Like,
no.
What other crypto you can just sit there and be like, all right, this is what's going on here? None.
XRP.
Man.
They got the public ledger, man. You could see the blocks.
Yeah, sure. You can see where they're sending and where they're selling and where they're buying, and that's it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So, man, we're close to 2 hours here. We can keep going. So I think at some point here, it's probably best we let you and the audience go here. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to say before we leave you here?
I just think it's good that you guys are trying to understand what's going on instead of just assuming that you know. Because it's important to never assume, and it's important to try to understand, because there's still a lot of things that I'm trying to understand, right? And here you are asking me to come and join you in the conversation, and this is how we both learn and both reinforce what we already know, or what we or correct what we thought we didn't know that we know, or whatever the case may be, right? And that's what it's about. It's just about talking.
Right.
100%, man. That's what we wanted in this channel, man. We just want to educate the people, and we want to get the right people on the channel with the right questions. There's no dumb questions. There's no stupid questions. Well, maybe sometimes there's.
I can try. You can try real good.
Okay, man. Look, it's been a pleasure. Appreciate you. Guys, if you have any follow Wales Only,
follow Wales Only.
You guys know what he is, man. You guys follow his channel, the YouTube channel, and God bless, man. Brendan, what do you got, man? And you gotta take off the stag, man. Brendan, CEO, Messon's boss. You're not my boss, man. You're not my boss, man.
I'm wondering how long it was gonna take for you to either notice.
I keep seeing it. I just forget it,
for like several live streams, and I'm glad you finally noticed. Folks, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Click on Wales YouTube channel links down in the description below. Follow everyone. Click all the buttons. That's it for me.
Do whatever you gotta
do.
Man.
Thank you. And I guess we'll end it here.
Thank you, guys. Peace out,
guys.
Take care, everyone.